trainees taken on that year to specialise in HR. Life was on the up for me. 12 months later, it changed dramatically. And a lot of people do a lot of change, aren't they, at the moment? A lot of challenges. We're hearing constantly about people being made redundant and uncertainty about the future. I lost my job through ill health. I became with an illness that some of you may have heard of called ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, yuppie flu, or chronic fatigue syndrome. And at the time when I was diagnosed with it, 8 out of 10 doctors didn't believe the illness existed. Guys, that was a bit of a challenge. 1 week I was this so-called high-flying graduate management trainee with other kind of kudos and status that goes with that. 7 days later, I was on £35 a week invalidity benefit, with all the kind of stigma that goes with that. We had a mortgage based on a salary that I no longer had, and we had no mortgage protection. Do you know how we kept our house? Well, one, I relied completely on my wife, but we actually took in lodgers. And the doctor was one of the 8 out of 10. He didn't believe this existed, so how did he support me? He sent me to see a psychiatrist in Liverpool. If I'm honest with you, I found that a rather humiliating experience. Not going to Liverpool, but seeing a psychiatrist. And the gods conspired. I got me £35 a week invalidity benefit on the same day old age pensioners got their pension. Can you imagine that? For me, I was in my early 20s. I had a walking stick. I remember one day being in this post office queue and I'm just looking around thinking, you know what? I never thought life was going to turn out quite like this. You ever had a kind of conversation like that? Ever found that you're going down a path and then all of a sudden things change and you hit a brick wall? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. And the reason I like to share that with people is because I do get referred to as a motivational speaker, but you're not going to get what I call Californian motivation. No offence, but I'm not going to suggest to you that tomorrow morning you get out of bed, you look in the mirror and go, I'm a tiger, I'm a tiger, I'm a tiger. You can do that in the afternoon. I'm from Manchester originally, and for me, I talk about Mancunian motivation, which is 3 things. Number 1, tell it as it is. Number 2, no bull. And number 3, let's be really practical. That's what I want to do tonight. I was ill for 2.5 years. After 2.5 years of being ill and faced with uncertainty, am I going to improve or not? I felt ready to do some work. My next big challenge, nobody would hire me because I can't pass a medical. So what do? I hired myself. And that was in March 1991. So I've just been in business now for over 20 years. And since then, I've written a few books, spoken in a few countries. In 2002, I started to use the phrase sumo. Shut up, move on. Sounds a bit aggressive, I know. It's not meant to, but can I just say this? Sometimes, guys, I think we need to say to ourselves, because we're getting a bit bogged down with our negativity and going on and on about our problems. Come on, we need to sumo now. We need to shut up and move on. But there's a bit more to it than that. I've got 6 sumo principles. I'm going to dip into a couple of them tonight for you. But in many ways, the best way to explain what sumo is about is to ask you a couple of questions. I guess maybe a lot of you maybe drive a car and maybe nod to the person next to you if you do. Next question, did you get yourself dressed this morning? Again, just have a quick look around if you with your teams to check whether they did or didn't. And if they didn't, they obviously lead a far more interesting life than you do. But the reason I ask those 2 questions is psychologists say that on a day-to-day basis, around about 80 to 85% of what you and I do, we do on autopilot. We do it without thinking. And in many ways, I think people go through life without really thinking about stuff, without really thinking about why am I where I'm at in life today? What do I really want for my future? And how is my mindset and my attitude and the way I'm thinking impacting the way I see the world and I do life? I think a lot of people don't do that. So tonight I want to give you just a little bit of an opportunity to press the pause button, if you like, and just to get off autopilot and do some stopping, thinking, and reflecting. The move on bit is this. I'm not here to fill in a little bit of time for an evening for you just so you can decide you think Paul McGee is any good or not, because that's not what this is about. This is about thinking, not just shutting up, but can I then move on and do something with this stuff that's going to help me be more effective in my business and in my personal life as well. So that's where we're going to go. And in 1992, I was driving, listening to, at the time, what was audio tapes. And if you do a lot of driving in the car, can I really encourage you to get hold of audio programs or download stuff that you can listen to your iPad or whatever. Not just about music or anything other, but around personal development, because your car really can be like a university on wheels. And I heard Jack Canfield, the guy who wrote the whole series, Chicken Soup for the Soul, he came up with an equation. And I want to show you this equation now, because it had a profound impact on my life. And in many respects, it's the foundation formula for all that I'll look at in sumo. So let's just look at this first slide. And the equation is very simply this. Coming up very soon, be patient, E plus R equals O. What's that about? Well, let me tell you a very quick story. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV program Maybe Somehow. Well, a few years ago I was watching it, and there was one couple who were in their 50s into bird watching, living next door to another couple also in their 50s, not into bird watching, but living with their elderly mother. And one day, one of the people who were into bird watching noticed a bird in their garden they haven't seen before. So what do? They grab their binoculars and they take a look at the bird. And then after a while, the bird flew over into next door neighbour's garden. On automatic pilot, without thinking, what does she do? She follows the bird. At that precise moment, elderly mother is in the garden. She happens to see the woman next door, seemingly looking at her through a pair of binoculars. Her son's interviewed the documentary and said this: when my mother saw she was being spied upon, she was devastated. We had no choice but to go to these fast-growing conifers. The conifers grew fast, they grew tall. After a while, it blocked out the couple into bird watching's lights. So then what did they do? They went, oh, your chancel action them down by about 15 feet. The other couple went, no. Right, we'll take you to court. Oh, go on then, I'm scared. Guys, they went to court. Last I heard, cost £50,000 in court and legal costs to resolve the issue. 50 grand. That could get you a lot of trips to New York, right? Why do I tell you that story? Because it brilliantly illustrates E plus R equals O. And this is a formula, guys, you need to recognise is relevant for you every single day of your life. Let's look at what those three letters are about. The E stands for event. The event in that story was one being looked at through a pair of binoculars. The O stands for outcome. And the event was, okay, it looks like binoculars. The outcome was fast-growing conifers, 50 grand in court and legal costs, and a shed load of conflict and stress. But hey, before they got to the outcome, what does the R stand for? A lot of people say reaction, and to some degree that's right, but you know what? This is the foundation formula to sumo. For me, the R is this. It's about our response. And you know, every single day, you and I, whether it be in our personal life or in our professional life, we get challenges, we get events, don't we? Some of those events are great opportunities. You know, we've got this event that you're hearing about the opportunity to go to New York, and you will over time get an outcome. But actually, it's not just the event that determines the outcome, it's your response. Now, I don't know, Andy said there could be 200 or 300 people listening to this webinar and viewing it tonight. That's the event. But the outcome is not based on what I say, the outcome is based on how you respond to stuff. And I want to think about this, but I think there's two things I think we've got to be really careful about in life. One of them is rejection. How do I handle rejection? Because rejection's an event, isn't it? But some people go, well, you know, I've got this outcome, things haven't gone well, I've had a difficult month, I've had a difficult quarter, weather's not been good, didn't go out and deliver the brochures, the catalogues, you know, some of the team don't want to be involved anymore, so you know what my outcome is going to be? No, I don't know what your outcome is going to be. Because actually, two people could have the same event, but actually end up with a very different outcome from each other, wouldn't you agree? Because it's never simply just the event, it's how we respond that influences the outcome. Rejection. How do you respond to rejection? And what about success? How do you respond to success? Do you know how some people respond? They get complacent. So I guess in life, on a day-to-day basis, Remember, whatever is happening to you, it's not just simply the event, it's how you respond that influences the outcome. Now, of course, you might hear that story and you go, well, that was a ridiculous thing that happened. Why would they overreact the way they did? But you know what? In life, sometimes I overreact to stuff. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because if somebody's telling me about an event in their life, in their business, and I'm listening from what you might call a detached, objective perspective, I'm really good. I'm really good at being able to say, well, if you'd have responded differently there, you'd have got a much different outcome. But when I'm emotionally involved, do you know what? I don't always see so clearly how to respond. See, the more emotionally involved you are in something, perhaps the harder it is to see a way forward. And that's what sumo is about. It's about saying, you know what, guys, maybe you can look at some of the events that are happening in your life in a different way. And maybe, even if no matter how you look at them, the reality is maybe it's a challenge, you can always choose a different response. Sumo, I just said to you before, stands for shut up, move on. Do you know what it means in Latin? I choose. Great, Aaron. I choose. Success in life is about the choices you make, the responses you make to those events, whether those events be opportunities or challenges. Guys, it's down to you how you respond. And what I want to just unpack with you briefly tonight, just give you a flavour of sumo, that's all. I can talk about this for a day or even 2 days. I do a sumo academy that lasts 4 days. Well, I promise you, we won't be here 4 days, okay? Some of you are going to have to eat during this time, maybe even go to the toilet, I don't know. But in the time that we have got together, I want to give you a bit of a flavour of sumo and how we can respond and make some better, wiser choices. Here's a question for you. Besides God, if you believe in God, who is the most important person you're ever going to talk to? The answer? Yourself. As soon as I ask the question, who do you automatically have a conversation with? I don't know, hope we don't flipping us, me. My principle I want to share with you is related to that question, and it's simply called this: develop fruity thinking. Develop fruity thinking. Now, it's not where some of you are going, and we are after the 9 o'clock watershed, I'm aware of that, but it's not where some of you think we're going, okay? So, what's fruity thinking about? Well, my background, as Andy said, is in psychology. Let's just do very briefly the psychology bit here. So let me show you the next slide. I want to talk to you briefly about something I call the TIA model, or the TIA process. This is great to share with your team and people you're recruiting into the business to help them understand why their thinking and their attitude is so important. The T in TIA stands for our thinking. Now, when I use that word thinking, I could have used the words your mindset, your attitude, your self-talk, your inner dialogue, just using the language thinking. In other words, the conversations that do go on inside your head and my head every single day. Now, 2 insights about thinking. Number 1, it's a bit like breathing. Because most of the time we're not even consciously aware that we're doing it. Most people don't wake up in the morning and go, I shall breathe today, it's good for me. Neither are most people going, how should I focus my thoughts? It just kind of happens. Well, in this webinar tonight, we're going to do something I think some people never do in their whole lives. We're going to stop and think about how we think. First insight then, thinking's a bit like breathing. We're often not aware that we're doing it. Second insight, when you and I think, we often think in questions. Do I? Yeah, you do. Do you know what? One of the first thoughts you might have when you wake up in the morning could well be a question. What time is it? Who are you? And who are you? Hey, it's a family show, just the cats, okay? And you'll understand a little bit more about later on about why when you and I think, we think in questions, why that's so important. Now, if I get to think about something, be it a happy or a sad event, is it fair to say that can actually begin to affect how you feel? Yes or yes? Correct. You see, what I think about myself, what I think about my potential maybe to get that trip to New York, what I think about my potential to grow my business, to build my team, what I think about my future, my relationships, deep down what I really think about myself, how I think affects how I feel, or my emotions. Now, how I'm thinking and feeling can very much affect my actions. And so attitude's got to be so important, because how I'm thinking ultimately drives my actions and drives my behaviour. And over time, what's going to happen with those actions? Well, guys, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get some results. The wife's been put vodka in this, but hey, it's still okay. Mind you, if I fall off the chair, you know there was a problem. So that's the psychology bit. In other words, just look at that slide. You see, I get results in life. We all get results in life. We get outcomes in life. And then people just go, well, that happens, doesn't it? Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. No! Not whatever will be, will be. This is your life. You're the driver. You're in charge. Where does success start? Starts up here. How you think. Because that drives how you feel, your emotions. But key also then is the actions we take and the results we ultimately get. Let me give you a story. A few years ago, I'm reading a great book by Sir Clive Woodward. You know, he was he's now the Elite Performance Director. Let's just say that one again. He's the Elite Performance Director for the British Olympic Association. You got that? Pretty impressive job title, eh? And he was coaching, I remember, November the 22nd, 2003. England won the Rugby Union World Cup. Johnny Wilkinson, last-minute drop goal. Clive Wood was the coach of the team. So I think it's fair to say a pretty successful guy. If he'd have spoken at a Cleese event a month after England won the World Cup, we're talking tens and tens and tens of thousands of pounds to hire the guy. He wrote a book. He wrote a book called Winning. And I remember reading that book and thinking, this is really some good stuff here. And then I had a thought. Why don't I write to Sir Clive Woodward? Why don't I tell him what a great book it is? And why don't I send him a copy of one of my books, my sumo book? So that's what I was thinking of doing. And then I told my mate Andy. Do you know what his response was? Paul! You're such a brown noser. You'll be stalking him next. Oh, Sir Clive, I like your book. Here's a copy of mine. I'm going to buy your book. He's one of the top sports coaches in the world. Isn't it great when you've got people in your life who believe in you? Do you have Andys in your life? Not Andy, the man who set this webinar up. You know the kind of Andys I mean. That'll never work. What are you doing that for? That's any idea. Not that they get off their backside and do anything, but you know what the thoughts were? Because it's all about thinking, isn't it? What have I got to lose? Guys, I'm telling you my story, but can I just say something in the next week or two? A good question maybe to ask yourself could be that. What have I got to lose? So do you know what I did? Do you know what my actions were? I sent Sir Clive Woodward a copy of my sumo book. 24 hours later, I get an email. Paul, thanks for your book. Not a chance to read it, but I've always started to use the phrase sumo, shut up, move on in the workplace already today. I thought, results. 2 weeks later, get another email. Paul, I read your book. I got loads from it. I wondered, would it be possible to meet you? Because I think you could help me. You know, my first reaction was, is this a spoof email from Andy? It wasn't. Within 2 weeks I started doing some work for him. Now, I'm running a business, not just as a speaker, but we do now something called Sumo for Schools. Sumo for Schools has been endorsed by Clive Woodward, or Sir Clive Woodward. You see, guys, besides God, if you believe in God, you are the most important person you're going to talk to. Because our thinking impacts our emotions, our actions, and therefore the results we get in life. Now, in the Sumo book, I explore a bit more about not what I call just fruity thinking, but how we seem to get into what I call faulty thinking. Let me just share one type of faulty thinking you really need to be aware of. I call it the inner critic. The inner critic is the voice inside your head and my head that highlights my weaknesses and undermines my confidence. Let me just say that again. Inner critic highlights your weaknesses, highlights them, and undermines your confidence. And the best way, in many ways, to describe visually being a critic is with this. Sometimes, we make a mistake on the Monday. We're still beating ourselves up about it on the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, the Friday, the following week, the following month. Now, as Andy rightly said, I do some work with the Premiership football team. And there's one of their players who, if he's had a bad game, he will beat himself up about it for about an hour or so. But do you know what then happens? The gloves off. In other words, and get this, because this is relevant to all of us, he's basically saying in his mindset, his attitude, his thinking, I may have had a bad game, but that doesn't make me a bad player. What about you? You may have had sometimes not the best of weeks, or maybe just the best day. Doesn't mean you've suddenly lost it, you can't be successful. But there's another player I work with, and it's almost like this is welded onto his hand. And I'll share with you just maybe a couple of little strategies later on having to shut up our inner critic and move on to listen to our inner coach. I'll look at that more in the sumo book, but I want to share some stuff with you. We've got to be careful, because this can be the source of so much self-doubt. Yeah, but what if they do this? What if they say no? What if they don't like what I've got to say? What if it doesn't work out? Hey, what if? And sometimes, what's funny is people try and do something, they don't succeed straight away, and they just go, I'm not good at that. Let me ask you a question. When Rafa Nadal and Djokovic, or however you pronounce his name, Murray, when they picked up a tennis racket for the very first time in their lives, did they serve an ace immediately? The answer? No, they didn't. So sometimes when you're trying something and it doesn't work out straight away, don't quit. Don't give up. You need maybe some coaching. You need some support. Get rid of the boxing glove. Now, in the sumo book and in my seminars and conferences, I often get people to, I'll just shut up some of that faulty thinking, Paul. Well, remember I said to you earlier on, when you and I think, we often think in questions. I came up with 7 questions to help you sumo. And what I've done is, I'm going to just show you a slide now, because you can go to the website after this, and you can actually download some versions of the 7 questions. And let me show you, there's 2 versions of it. There's this little card that has the 7 questions on, and you can download that. Do you think it'll look better with or without the card in front of me, by the way? And there's also, which I'm going to show you, and this really will block me out, there's the cartoon version. Now you can download these. These are great questions to kind of coach yourself or coach your team, to kind of shut up some of that faulty thinking and to move on to free thinking. So let me just give you the link on that. Okay, so that's the link. This is good stuff. Here in Warrington, we are famous for vodka. Okay, vodka from Warrington. Alright, it's getting late, okay? So, let me just look at a couple of questions that may actually help you deal with some challenges you may face in life. And when you do get your setbacks, it's how you respond. Remember, equals cycles O. So here's a great question. I think you'll find this hugely helpful. Where is this issue on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, you'll add something. It's not on either version of the card, so just think about this for a moment. Where is this issue on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 equals death? How many times do we beat ourselves up about something that's not even registering really as a 2? How often do we get stressed about things, and there are 2? Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This really is good. There are 10s, 9s and 8s in life, right? I'm aware of that. My concern, though, for you is when, logically, rationally speaking, it's a 2, but we're reacting like it's an 8 or a 9. Do you overreact to stuff? Do you become a bit of a downer when you've not always had the best of days? Guys, this stuff is helpful. This really is helpful. Because you've got to be careful. If you keep on seeing everything as an 8 or a 9, stress will make you stupid. Drugs and alcohol will also do that, but stress makes you stupid. So just trying to press the pause button. Shut up. Where is it on a scale of 1 to 10 where 10 is death? Those some of those challenges that we all face when running a business. Guys, I've been running a business for 20 years. I've got staff, I've got clients who don't always respond in the way I want them to. This sometimes is a question that I find really, really helpful. But don't get me wrong, you're still going to do the ones and the twos. I don't want, if after this webinar, if someone says to you, we've got a right crisis, we on that flipping webinar, I'm not suggesting from now on you go, did anybody die? No, what? Well, I'm off for a cappuccino, I'll catch you later. Not the approach to take. Think about it. Scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is death, where is it? Now, there are 7 questions. Tonight I'm just looking at 2 of them. That's a good one. It's a great one. This is also a superb one. Get ready for this one, guys. How can I influence or improve the situation? You see, I don't know what your finish line is for you. Maybe it's getting that trip to New York. Maybe it's just adding more members to your team. You know, increasing your monthly income by a certain amount. But sometimes, you know, we're on one side of the bridge, the finish line is on the other side, and it's like, oh, well, but there isn't a bridge, is there? There should be, but there isn't. Do you know what happens? People faced with that scenario, they moan that there's no bridge. Do you know those people just moan about the economy, moan about Britain, moan about life? You know what other people do? They look for who's to blame that there's no bridge. Blame the parents, blame the government, blame the Americans, blame the banks. Guys, I'm not saying that's a wrong response. It's maybe understandable, but I can tell you this, it's not helpful. And some people get stuck. Moan, blame, moan, blame, moan, blame, moan, blame. Do you know what you've got to do? Get rid of that victim t-shirt. You might have seen this show on that video before we started the webinar. Get rid of the t-shirt. Take responsibility. Ask yourself some different questions. You're going to get some different answers. So a great one right now, I want you to be thinking about. A challenge that you've got, where is it really on a scale of 1 to 10 where 10 is death? Secondly, how can we as a team influence or improve the situation? Folks, I do work in Australia. Just been there about a month ago. And they have a great motto in Australia, a great little mantra. Build a bridge, get over it. But let's be honest, building bridges takes time, effort, commitment and hard work. But you know what happens over time? You get to the other side. Successful people didn't just arrive overnight, right? It takes work, it takes effort, it takes collaboration, it takes thinking differently, it takes dealing with setbacks. But over time, we achieve success. Scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is death, where is it? How can I influence or improve the situation? You want the other questions? Download them later. Look at them. Think about them. Don't just like have it and just like forget them. Zig Ziglar said this, motivation is a bit like having a wash. Don't do it more than once to get the full benefit. Some of you need to take that on board. I'm joking, right? In other words, you need to keep on refreshing, reminding, reinforcing yourself of these messages. Now, let me tell you 6 reasons why people think good thoughts, feel positive, and then don't actually take the action. Because that's what it's about. Let me give you 6 reasons why people procrastinate and put things off. Are you ready for them? Because they're coming up right now. Tension's building, isn't it? Okay, here we go. First one, avoiding discomfort. Have you ever done this exercise, you know, with your thumbs? You do it one way and it kind of feels good, and your right thumb's on top of your left or whatever. Then you do it the other way and that feels uncomfortable. Guys, here's what I've learned in life. Blessed are those that do the uncomfortable, for they will be successful. And some people think, oh, well, you know, if it feels good, do it. But if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. I think life at times, let me just give you no bull, is about being prepared to do what is uncomfortable, because that's okay. But some people want everything to work out for them, never step out of their comfort zone. Let me ask you a question. This is a great question. Because we all operate in our comfort zones. Here's the question. You ready? Where do life's opportunities really lie? Inside or outside your comfort zone? I have waved goodbye to too many opportunities because they were out of my comfort zone. Sometimes we've got to be prepared to do what is uncomfortable. Because even though it is, it's okay. It's okay. Alright? Here's the second one. Big trap for a lot of people, this one. Action illusion. Oh, I'm being really busy. You're busy doing what exactly? Don't confuse activity with effectiveness. Be strategic in what you're going to do. Have you had a busy day or have you had an effective day? There could be two very, very different outcomes. Here's the third one. Be aware of this one. Fear of failure. Successful people don't go around succeeding all the time. So I'll say that again. Successful people don't go around succeeding all the time. Failure does happen, although you may have heard the phrase, there's no such thing as failure and feedback. Well, that's true to an extent, but not everything I do works out. You know, I do now currently work with a Premiership football team, but there's other organisations I'd like to work with, and they've not hired me. Richard Branson said this, I've never failed in my life. It sounds a bit arrogant, but actually what he meant was this, I only define failure if I failed to learn anything from it. So as long as I learn something from the incident, from the experience, from the event, then I haven't failed, as long as I learn. But fearing failure traps people, keeps them almost like a prisoner from actually stepping out their comfort zone to achieve success. Here's another one. This is something you've got to be really careful of. It's a big excuse for a lot of people. Emotional barriers. What do I mean by emotional barriers? It's when you've got something you need to do to help build your business, and you know what you say to yourself? I don't feel very motivated today. I just don't feel very confident. Or I just don't feel very creative. Guys, quit waiting to feel motivated. Quit waiting to feel confident at times. Because look, if you're going to wait until you feel 100% motivated and 100% confident, let me tell you right now, you're going to be waiting a long time. I write books. I don't wake up every morning and think, I feel motivated. I just get on and do it. Sometimes the motivation comes after the action, not before it. Sometimes quit waiting to feel confident. Sometimes the confidence comes after you've done the event. Here's the fifth one you've got to be aware of, guys. Complacency. I can do it tomorrow, I can do it next week. Guys, a really great friend of mine, Clive Gott, some of you may have heard of him, died this year, aged 52. Life is too short. I don't want to waste time. What about you? Here's the final one I want to mention. I call it fuzzy focus. Just we're a bit uncertain about what do we do. We've got that many different options in front of us. We're just not really sure how we go forward. What do we do? What action do we take? We lack clarity. That's why I think your upline can be really helpful in providing clarity for you. But there's that sense in which we just don't know what to do because we're not really clear on what we need to do. 6 reasons. I'm going to be coming to the end, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes and then I'm out of here. Hopefully you're hanging on in there. Hopefully there's some good stuff here you're going to be thinking about. Just a taste of sumo. But I hope you're enjoying the taste of it and want some more in the future. 6 reasons. Let's look at some strategies you can take immediately to start shutting up some of those excuses and moving on to take some action. Let's look at some stuff here that will help you. Here's the first one. Understand the why. Why are you really in this business? You know, when you've got a big enough why, you will find the how. You know, I was passionate about personal development. Passionate. You know, and I've worked so hard at developing my ability to speak and present and coach, you know, because I understand what I want to achieve in life. I understand that this stuff that I share has transformed my life. I had a huge red boxing glove, almost welded onto my wrist for years. This stuff works. It helps. I understand the why I do what I do. What's your why? Why do you really want to go to New York? Understand the reason why. That will drive you to take action. Here's another thing that you're going to find really, really helpful, guys. Just start it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do maybe after this webinar? What are you going to do tomorrow morning? Just start it. We're about to book a cruise, and there's all these various trips that you can go on. And my wife's saying, you know, there's so many to choose from, and what are we going to do this day and that day? You know, she before this webinar, she just started the task. She just focused on, okay, I'm just going to do the first 2 days of the trip, book a couple of ones that we can do. There's a choice of about 8 for each day, but she's now done the first 2. The first 2 days are sorted. We know where we're going and what we're going to do. She started it rather than keep putting it off. What are you putting off? Don't worry about completing everything. Just start it. I write books. What do? I do them 1 page at a time. I get a piece of paper. I don't even type it up. I get Kev in my office to type this stuff up. And I just start the writing, and then stuff comes. Quit your excuses if you've got any, guys. And I don't think you'll have many, because this is why you're investing your time tonight. But challenge people. Just start it. Do something. And this is a great way. The third point. Just go for some quick wins. What can you do quickly to achieve some sense of progress and achievement? You know, nothing motivates like success. So everyone says, aim high, aim high. Look, I'm prepared to aim low, get a couple of quick wins. I think they call it, you know, go for the low-hanging fruits. Go for it. Encourage those in your team. Just go for the small stuff to begin with, guys. Take 1 or 2 steps, because that's how confidence grows. Don't try and aim too high to begin with, because you get a setback, you get a challenge, you're disappointed, you quit. Go for your quick wins. Here's something else you need to do, guys. Sometimes just tackle the nasties first. Anything you're thinking, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do it. Well, just do it sometimes. Then it's out of the way. You can get on to do the stuff you want to do a bit later on. And then finally, folks, this is something which I really want you to be aware of. And I know that your upline and Andy, who set up this webinar, can be a real help for you. And that is very simply in this area. Point number 5, make a date with a mate. You want to achieve things in life. I mean, what's, you know, Team Horizon, together, everyone achieves more. You've got to work together to do this. I've achieved what I've achieved in life, yes, through determination, yes, through thinking about how those 7 questions can help me, but I've had people in my life, I've had business coaches, other speakers and mentors who have helped me on my journey. I want to leave you just a couple of final thoughts, guys. I wanted to get this book, Sumo, published, and here's what was interesting. I actually got in touch with the largest publisher in the UK, got a personal introduction to them through a friend of mine who had a book published by them, and he said they'll love your stuff. They'll just absolutely love your stuff. So I wrote 1 chapter, put a proposal together, really excited, and they hated it. You know what they said in the email to me? A book title has to work from the outset, and Paul, yours doesn't. No one's going to want to buy a book that's going to Sumo to shut up and move on. Not great response, is it, from the largest publisher in the UK? Even when I got a personal introduction, you start off with high hopes and expectations. But question number 4, I said to her on, how can I influence and improve the situation? I didn't give up. That woman who rejected me, she agreed to meet me face to face. I was going to be at an event she was at, and I said, look, let me take you for coffee. Do you know what? I took sumo t-shirts, I took the postcards, I took a testimonial from the Premiership football team I work with, and I said to her, I said, Rachel, imagine, front cover of the book was of a funny looking sumo on a unicycle. In fact, you might be able to see, I don't know, but my logo is of a funny looking sumo on a unicycle. You might actually see that also on your screen, bottom right hand corner. I said, imagine if that was the front cover. Hey, it's fun, it's quirky, it's different, it's memorable. It ain't meant to be aggressive. She turned me down. Forget it. I was working in London 24 hours later. I'm in what I call my hippo time. I was having a bit of a wallow. I walk into WH Smith's because I'm looking for some inspiration. Where do you get your inspiration from? I get it a lot from books. I go into WH Smith's. One book dominated the top shelf in the business section. Got it here tonight. It's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? It's a book about 4 mice and how they deal with change. I'm looking at it going, I'll flipping well move your cheese. Could have been sumo up there. And then I realised this. Paul, you've had an event. What's your response going to be? You've had a bit of a hippo time. You had your wallow, but it's okay. The hippo time is temporary. Part of your journey ain't your destination. And I'm thinking to myself, they are the largest publisher in the UK, but they're not the only one. I take the Underground, the escalator down to the London Underground. I had to smile. I only sent one sample chapter to the publisher. So far, I've looked at the foundation formula, equals psi equals O. We've looked briefly at a principle called develop fruity thinking. There's another principle in the book, it's called learn Latin. And the Latin phrase, very simply this, guys, carpe diem. Translate that into English, what have you got? Seize the day. You've seized the moment by watching me tonight. Good on you, guys. Loads of other people on their backsides going on, having a BMW session and bitch, moan and whinge about how they've not got any money and life's tough. You're taking responsibility. You are seizing the day. And I encourage you to keep on keeping on. I got back to my office 48 hours later. It was a slow train. That was intensive humour. Never mind, I'll move on. We're into the end nearly. And I did my book proposal out. I sent to loads more publishers. You know what happened? No. Got a further 8 no's. Rejection, eh? Does wonders for your self-esteem, doesn't it? So why am I telling you this? I think sumo is really helpful. It's massively helped me. I know it's helped literally tens of thousands of people, not just in the UK, but around the world. It does not make you immune from setbacks and challenges, though. Here's what I've learned in life. Sometimes, metaphorically speaking, we do fall. The issue, though, is this. It's not whether you fall. It's how long you stay down there for. I got up and I persisted. I sent my book proposal to a few more publishers. I'd had a date with a mate who gave me some further insights and encouraged me to carry on going for it. Even when I didn't feel motivated or confident, I still took the action. I got 3 offers. The book was coming out in June 2005. The month beforehand, publisher contacts me. He says, Paul, WH Smith's have been on. I went, oh great, are they going to stock it? He said, stock it? They've chosen it to be their business book of the month when it comes out. I went, it's not a business book. It's a personal development book. He said, Paul, if WH Smiths want to make it business book of the month, it's a flipping business book. Okay. I went, okay, what does that mean? He says, this is what it means. Go into WH Smith's, where the business section is, month of June Top shelf won't have Who Moved My Cheese. Top shelf will have Funny Looking Guy, Unicycle, London Victoria Railway Station, Juno 5. Now, you might want to get the copy if you haven't already. I know loads of people in Clean Easy have. It's now actually in this format. It's become an international bestseller, guys. International, absolutely thrilled. Translated to 13 different languages. You can get it really cheap off Amazon for yourself or your team. But at the end of the day, it's not about a book, is it? It's about a message. It's about you. And all this stuff, oh, it's an international bestseller, translated to all these languages, that's all ego. Think about this, guys. Here's an email from someone called Nikki. Paul, I was made redundant on Friday. It was a dull, but it was a well-paid job. I wallowed for half a day, then still feeling angry and let down on my way home. I bought your book in Heathrow Airport. I went from cover to cover whilst waiting for my flight. You see, I have always been the type of person to see the opportunities when faced with adversity that your book has given me. The insight, the courage and the determination to pursue my dream career. Thank you. Hey guys, I like the photo. Something to show the grandkids. Thrilled at how well it's done. But while I leave you with Nikki's email, because Nikki's never met me and Nikki's never heard me speak, but Sumo made a difference to her. Guys, please feel free to go to the website, resources page, whatever, stuff that you can download for free or get a copy of the book from Amazon. Not just this, but I've got another one called Self-Confidence, and there's places you can click on this screen that will take you there really quickly. All my profits, guys, go to fund some stuff I'm doing out in Africa anyway, so it's not as if I see the profit, but I want to get this stuff in your hands and to make a difference. We're doing sumo in prisons now, and again, the profits of this book help support the work we're doing there. We just want to impact people's lives. I love this stuff. I know it's helpful. If you want to keep in touch with me, get some food for thought occasionally, then you can follow me on Twitter. But can I just say, we've had a, I'll tell you, I'm on a roll. I could have done 4 days. I mean, we are close to almost an hour. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to open up the chat thing soon, and I need a little bit of feedback from you guys. Don't put Zeds, which meant, Paul, we nodded off about half an hour ago. You found this useful. Yeah, you can put your A's for applause, but you know what? I'm not after applause. What would be more useful is if you just put some comments about, yeah, was this good? Was this helpful? Is there something going to take away? Is it a question? Is it getting rid of the red boxing glove? Is it question 4, how can I influence and improve the situation? What is it that you're going to do? Which were the factors that were putting you off taking action? And what are the strategies you're going to use to make sure you carpe diem, you seize the day? Whatever you're doing, guys, not just in Clean Easy, but in your personal life, I wish you loads of success. If you're working towards New York, go for it, carpe diem. And I really do hope Sumo makes a difference to you. Thanks for listening, guys. Spread the message of Sumo. Go out there, make a difference in your business and make a difference to other people. Thank you very much.